are back with another episode of Pinal's People. We are joining you from Saskatoon at the Gila River Indian Community, and our guest today is none other than the Honorable Governor Stephen Roe Lewis. Now in his fourth term, Governor Lewis is the longest-serving governor for the Gila River Indian Community. Governor, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, and it's good to talk.
It's lovely to have you. So, of course, Governor, you've been in leadership with the Gila Indian River community for quite some time now, as I've mentioned. And in that time, you've helped the community navigate plenty of important and pressing issues, from water to renewable energy, the future of agriculture, and a number of other key issues as well. However, for our audience members who might not be familiar with you and your work, could you share a little bit about your journey and how you became the governor of Gila River Indian Community?
Well, thank you. And I grew up here in the community. I grew up in Saskatoon. My father, the late Rod Lewis, who was actually our first general counsel, attorney for the community, dedicated his life to fighting and regaining our water settlement, our water rights. My mother, who was an educator and also went to law school, and she also retired as a children's court judge as well. Service really ran in our family. I have a younger brother and a sister, and both of them have worked for the community in various capacities as well. So we were taught at a very early age to give back to our community. The importance of public service, and that goes back to our values and our culture as being from the Gila River Indian community. So really, when I had the opportunity to serve, this was probably one of the most consequential decisions that I made in my professional journey, in my academic journey. I went to undergrad at ASU. I pursued graduate studies on the East Coast at the Kennedy School of Government. And so having the opportunity to come back and serve my community, bring the experience that I had, was and still is an honor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm really glad that you brought up your experience, because that was one of the things I wanted to ask you about. Just in my research about you, Governor, I've noticed, your experience and your background has been so incredibly varied. Of course, you mentioned the Kennedy School, and you've also served as a lieutenant governor. You've been a member of the board of directors for Gila River Health Care Corporation. You've been on the board of directors for the Gila River Telecommunications Inc. And you even served as the first Native film curator for the Sundance Film Festival in Utah. And honestly, of course, that is, just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to your resume and what you've done. So I would love to kind of get some insight for you. What's motivated you to be so heavily involved and be a representative of your community?
Right, and actually, my first position within the community was I was also a tribal gaming regulator, which we, of course, regulate both the tribal gaming ordinance as well as are responsible for monitoring the state tribal gaming compact as well. And this was, in the early to mid '90s was when I had the opportunity to come back and to work for my community as well. This is when, of course, gaming was just starting, in our state and throughout this region as well. And the Gila River Indian community was new to that, and I was really proud to be a part of the tribal government arm and overseeing the proper regulation and so of tribal gaming within our community. And that really gave me an opportunity to see exactly, just the importance of providing services to our community. As tribal nations, we're responsible for providing health care, education, infrastructure, which means roads, access to clean water, housing, all those important services. And for the community was what I was taught by both my elders and by my family was that, we come from very humble beginnings. We were agriculturalists, we were farmers. We trace ourselves back to the Hugam, which were incredible builders and architects and engineers of the canal systems that brought water to this whole area of, around the Phoenix area, that would be, modern day Phoenix and our traditional land throughout southern Arizona. And we were farmers, we were agriculturalists, we were caretakers of both the land and the water, providing those resources for us to live in this beautiful desert, what we call Akhtam Juvid, our homelands. And that type of thinking that was taught to me was important, was very, I think, in my formative leadership development, was making sure that proper decisions were made that were responsible for not only honoring our past, but really have the opportunity to provide resources for date, but also to look at the future as well, to look at our future from our children, our children's children, those literally the 7 generations of what's called that 7 generations type of indigenous thinking. And that really informed me in regards to making sure that our Gila River Indian community, that we were well placed, that we had the resources to provide for ourselves, to be resilient in that aspect. My father always taught me that over 150 years ago, when our water was rerouted and was dammed upstream and literally taken from us, that really pushed us to the brink of literal extinction. And that ancestral tie to the river, what we call our Akhtam Juvid, was probably one of the most traumatic experiences that our community experienced, but also I think provided the tenacity and that resilience to look at ways where we could not only address that theft of water, but also find innovative ways in the spirit of our hugam that we trace ourselves to look at ways where we can rely on ourselves and advocate for ourselves, whether it's at the state level, whether it's at the federal level. And my father and leaders of his time and his era knew that well, and really led to mounting a historic reclaiming our water. So this all culminated in the largest water settlement in U.S. history, the 2004 Arizona Water Settlement Act. And so my father was part of that, our leadership was part of that, and when I became in a leadership position, almost 12 years later, there was an opportunity for me, but also a responsibility as the governor to put that water to good use, to actually start to implement our water settlement. Before we had casinos and other enterprises, we were farmers. Our first business was the Gila River Farms. And so having an opportunity to start to use our water resources to really empower our Gila River Farms, our small farmers as well, and looking at that as a real opportunity, to provide connections to fresh produce and foods to our community, the farm to table. We have Ramona Farms, who's just an incredible community farm operation, where they actually literally brought back our traditional crops and finding a niche for themselves, within both the local and national opportunities to provide those traditional crops and plants for high-end restaurants as well, and for supermarkets that and grocers that are actually selling her produce as well. So it's those type of bright spots, those type of, such as Ramona Farms, that really show the resiliency in our ongoing tie to our water and to being agriculturalists, and really highlighting that farming and agriculture is so important to us even now, especially when we've been through the last 3 years of pandemic. We've, as I said, in part of our history, we've had to be resilient, and I'm so proud of our community where we're harnessing that resilient spirit again and addressing a lot of issues such as water needs, looking at economic development, building out our Gila River gaming casinos and resorts as well, providing those amenities and those services for the surrounding community as well. And so, as a tribal leader, I look at being responsible and taking this responsibility very serious. For the Gila River community, we're just over 24,000 tribal members. About 16 to 17,000 live on the reservation, and the majority live in Pinal County, of course, in Maricopa County, and across the United States, and some across the globe as well. So so it's being in a leadership position with the community. There's a lot of opportunities, but I understand that there's that there is a lot of responsibility that goes with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so happy you brought up the issue of water, because of course here in Arizona, water has become a big, it's become a big topic, of course, and a very relevant topic nowadays. But as I understand it too, so you brought up the agricultural component of water and the ties to the Gila River, but as I understood it too, there's an ecological component as well with the riparian areas. Can you share a little bit about that?
Exactly. We're in the worst drought in over 1,200 years. Some experts have called it a mega drought. And so for the community, because of our water settlement, we're looking at ways where we are trying to conserve our water, every drop of water, in any way we can. And so we've been lining our canals to address water evaporation. We've also, and this was part of my father's vision, because he was asked, why doesn't the Gila River flow? And he had a vision to bring back the river's flow in certain areas where it would not only be a riparian wetlands area, and also an educational area as well, but also it had a dual use to store water as well. So we created our first of many what's called MARS, Managed Aquifer Recharge sites, where we actually can restore the habitat, literally the plants and the animals that would be living and thriving along the banks of the Gila River, but also storing water, recharging water in underground aquifers, where we could store thousands of acre feet to protect our water table and to store water as well. So we came up with an opportunity. We saw an opportunity to create this, and it's called the MAR 5 site. And so it's about almost literally a 3-mile path that has recreated the flow of the Gila River. All the plants, we have over 100 species of birds that have come back to the area as well. Literally the land, when we created the site, the land literally healed itself, and so all those indigenous plants came back as well. The plants that we use for our baskets that we're known for as well. So our basket makers, an opportunity for them to come and harvest, because there was hard to find the areas where the actual plants grew to harvest those fibers for our baskets. And so that all started to grow back along the MAR 5 area near the historic Old Bird Bridge. And so we have at least 3 or 4 other MARs planned as well along the Gila River. So this was really a cutting edge example of water management. It's been award winning. We've won a number of ecological awards, and this really shows that tribes leading the way in cutting edge water management. We're also, in fact, later this week on Wednesday, we're going to be showcasing our solar panels over canals. And this is the first in the Western Hemisphere, though. The only other project so far that has been completed is in India. And so here, we're a tribal nation, and we're actually putting solar panels. It's a pilot project working with the Bureau of Reclamation, the federal government, our partners, and putting solar panels over canals to not only the covering, which would also protect against water evaporation, but the cooling effect of the water would make the solar panels, from our studies, would make the solar panels more efficient as well, and meaning generating more green energy, solar energy as well. So this is our vision, our community's vision. It's a blue-green economy. It's conserving water. The blue and the green aspect of it is really through the solar panels, creating green energy as well, looking at being potentially one of the first net zero communities in the United States. And so, we're going to be placing the solar panels this Wednesday, and so I invite you out as well. But that's an important showcase and celebration milestone for the beginning of our project, the solar panels over canals.
Yeah, wow, that's incredible. And I love that about the blue-green economy. Never heard it said that way before, but it's wonderful. And so I would love to kind of pick your brain, because, it seems like when it comes to, the economy, but also things like this project, you guys are really pressing the boundaries of innovation. And so I would love to know what do you wish more people knew from the outside looking in about the Gila River Indian community?
Right. I think what I wish that people knew more about, of course, is we've been here since time immemorial, and of course we've had to go through very difficult times at times in our history. I'm talking about the theft of our water over 150 years ago, but we've always fought through that. We've always found a way to not only survive, but now what you're seeing is actually thriving as well. And it's I strongly feel, myself and our leadership and our community, it's making sure that we have that ongoing connection with our history and our tradition. There's two distinct tribal nations in the community. That's why we call it the Gila River Indian community. The Akim, the people of the river, and the Pipash, which have historically, they occupy the west part of our reservation in District 7. And so we've had two communities that have come together, and this was over 100 years ago. They've come together, and in fact, over 175 years ago, come together for a common purpose. And the Pipash have come from the Colorado River. They migrated, and we've entered into a military alliance at the beginning, and then they've become a permanent part of this shared community that we have. That's the Gila River Indian community. And so we definitely, when we see the history of our community, how we've grown, how we've adapted, we're doing, I think, very cutting edge things, but as you can see, we're still very agricultural, rural. Those values of how we see ourselves is making sure that we stay humble, that we stay respectful, we respect the land and the water. That says a lot about who we are as the Gila River Indian community.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, so when you think about all that you and the council have accomplished over your time, and everything that, as you were mentioning, everything that the Gila River Indian community has overcome and had to deal with, and you reflect on those things, and you think about what other people might take away. What do you wish that other people might take away from that story?
Right. Well, when I reflect about our leadership, of course, we have, and maybe just to give you a little more context, we have the governor, lieutenant governor, and 17-member council that are elected by our leadership. We're a constitutional-based community government, where we have not only we have our independent court system as well. We have our police and fire. So we have all of those departments and those services that any other municipality would have. But we're a sovereign tribal nation, and that means that we have a very special relationship with the state, with the federal government. There's a trust relationship there with the federal government. We're one of 22 tribes here in Arizona, and we're a part of Arizona's story. We're part of Pinal County's story that goes way back, decades if not centuries. And what we found and what is ingrained, I think, in our value system is working together, having that respect, that common respect for the history you bring, the perspective you bring. That brings opportunities to work together for the future of all of us. And so we look at just how Pinal County has grown, right? Just and whether it's whether you see that as over decades, or you just see that just recently with a lot of the high tech industry that is located here. You look at the economy that's grown in Pinal County, and for the community, I want to make sure that that my community members have opportunities to be able to participate in this economy, in the job economy as well. You see so many of the high tech industry that is located within Pinal County. I want to make sure that our community members, especially our young community members, that they're able to compete in this modern job market as well. That, of course, for the community, we see ourselves as distinct, as a sovereign nation, but we understand, that we're a part of all of the municipalities and Pinal County as well. That both our community, that the Pinal and Maricopa, we're very aware of that, and we've always been good neighbors. We've always prided ourselves on hospitality as well, from the earliest days of both the territory as well as Arizona, pre-statehood and statehood. We were considered the breadbasket of this region, and we were always very. We've welcomed the earliest settlers through here, through this area, and that's who we are as a community. We work together. We understand what it takes from our history and from our knowledge and from our spirituality of how connected we are to this area, but we understand also as well to respect just the area we're at, the long-term history that has come from the settlers that have come through our community as well, and we have a long documented history of that, and we're proud of that, and we're just looking at ways, whether it's in our current economic, political system, that we can continue growing together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially with the I-10 as well, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, the I-10, which was a major artery, we worked not only with our congressional leadership, we worked with our state leadership as well, to look at and advocate for funding to finally get the I-10 widening, to get that settled. Both myself and Governor Hobbs from Arizona, we actually went and lobbied for funding. You have two governors, right? You have a governor of a tribal nation, and you have the governor of the state working together with our congressional leadership and our state legislative leaders, and going and advocating for funding in Washington, D.C. And when we work together, we have results like that, which benefit not only the Gila River Indian community, but benefit everyone in in not only Pinal County, but in the region and the state as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And Governor, just one last question for you.
Sure.
And this is one we've been asking all of our guests on Pinal's People, and I would love to hear your response to this. So let's imagine it's many, many years from now, and it's a future where you've accomplished everything you could have possibly, set out to do as governor, and you've done as much as you possibly could do to ensure the future of the Gila River Indian community. What does that future look like to you?
I see a very healthy future. I see a very resilient future for our community, for this region as well, for the community. We have so much to offer, not only for our people, but also for the surrounding region as well. You know, we're showcasing innovation, both in water, both in economic development, and if we can showcase this and be showcase best practices, not only to other tribes in Arizona and across Indian country, but to also show exactly, especially, you know, with water, how powerful an example, you know, that we're doing right now and that we'll continue to do, you know, in regards to water conservation, respecting the water, using cutting edge technologies with our solar panels over canals, and conserving water and generating solar energy. That opens up a whole new opportunity for innovation as well, and for showing Arizona the path forward in a green, respectful, sustainable future. And if opening up these pathways, there's an opportunity also for our community members to get their education, like I did, and to come back to the community and to serve, to be our next hydrologists, to be our next engineers, our next attorneys, our next doctors. We run our own healthcare facility as well, Gila River Healthcare. We're one of the few tribes that does that, where we run that independent of the federal government. And so, you know, looking at ways where we really can encourage more community members to go into the STEM-related fields, you know, to one day be, of course, we're going to need community members to become our next council members, our next lieutenant governor, our next governor, who knows, the next governor of Arizona. You know, the opportunities, and I think that's important to showcase and to provide hope. With everything we're doing now, all these decisions that we're making now, you know, it's to really to show that we have a bright future ahead. Of course, there's going to be difficulties. There's going to be ways where we're going to have to make very important decisions. But the future, as a tribal leader, one of your responsibilities is to show the way for your people. And I'm proud and I'm honored to be able to be in a position right now to be able to make decisions to show the way for our people for the next, whether it's 5 years or 10 years or decades from now. I'm hoping I'm providing a stable foundation for the next generation of leadership, for someone who's going to be sitting in this chair right after me, and providing those opportunities where they can take the reins, and they can also make those same decisions and be the leader for our community to push us into the future, and to always be respectful, as our elders tell us. You know, you never forget where you come from. You never forget all of those past leaders, all of those past community members that have fought and sacrificed for us to be in positions right now where we can make those decisions for the future benefit of the community, and those decisions that will reverberate across the state as well, across Pinal County, where we can continue to find ways to be good neighbors, find ways, you know, to support a vision, you know, of sustainability, of resilience for all of us. We're all linked. We're all linked by the natural resources. We're all linked by water. We're all linked by land. We understand that, and the community. In difficult decisions, we reflect on how long we've been here. We reflect on all of these deep connections to our water, to our land, to our ancestors, and I think that's what informs us as leadership. That's what provides us the moral compass to make these decisions, to make these hard decisions, these difficult decisions in a complicated world. But as you can see, you know, we're making these decisions with just a lot of collective, I think, teamwork, support in our community as well. We're definitely in a place where we're positioning ourselves, I think, for a very bright future for our community.
Absolutely. That was beautiful. Governor Stephen Rowe Lewis, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you. Thank you again.